Hello, everyone. It's Mike from Downtown Comics, and I'm here as always with James Rossman. James, how are we doing today?
Doing fantastic, Mike.
Good. We're going to talk about some comics this week, and we are at April 26, 2025. We are almost a free comic book day.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So let's get started. Before we begin, downtowncomics.com is the place to go to check out all the new comics, especially the ones that we're talking about. And, of course, liking, sharing, and subscribing is always appreciated. All right. Well, let's get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for me, first is Superman number 25.
Okay.
I've honestly loved this entire line. What's interesting about this is they've, especially in Superman number 25, they kind of make, recollections back from the first issue.
Okay.
So, yeah, right. And in the previous issue, we found that Mercy Graves has like a clone of Lex Luthor. Because right now the Lex Luthor that's in previously is like a good Lex Luthor,
right,
essentially.
Exactly. Okay.
So, and in this, eventually, they, Superman and Superwoman, they both end up fighting the clone Lex Luthor because Mercy Graves releases him, essentially, because, because she's trying to carry out what the Lex, the bad Lex before he became, had amnesia,
right?
And so they end up fighting him, and there's like red kryptonite involved, there's green kryptonite involved, and there's like threats of there was a point where Superman and the interesting thing about the bad Lex Luthor is his name is X, so it's like the letter X hyphen EL. So it's
so they're doing a play on Superman's name. Okay.
Yeah, because he has like the suit, like
so,
his suit's
well,
black.
Did they bring back the classic power armor suit though? Because I think it was on one of the covers.
Was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So do they bring that? Is that in the issue?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I always love
the good Lex Luthor has it.
So okay. All right. I always love the classic power armor.
Yeah, it's so cool. It was really neat to see the bad Lex Luthor, and the good Lex Luthor go up, head to head.
Okay.
All right. With him with the armor. But yeah. Let me see. But it's interesting. So this issue has a bunch of artists on there, and it's not until we get to the Dan Mora, kind of towards the end, where we get the big, all-out battle of like I mentioned, Superman, Superwoman, XL, and Lex Luthor. So that was really neat. But this issue does leave more than one character permanently changed.
Okay.
So that was interesting. And I think, at the end, this really sets the stage for not only the next arc of this series, but also for Superman just in general.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to be pushing Superman a lot in the comics this summer, obviously. Because of the movie. Yeah. So yeah, they're gearing up for some big stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people that wants to get back into Superman because the books all look. Like the covers look cool, So I'm happy. Things are going well there. And have we seen other colors of kryptonite reappear? Like is the red like the first?
I don't recall another in previous issues.
Okay, I just wonder because it seems like to me anyway, and not having read Superman, but that they kind of boiled it down to just green, and you rarely see the gold or the red or those old school colors.
Yeah, which I kind of missed that because I remember in Smallville they did all the colors. So hopefully they kind of get back to that.
And red is the one that takes his powers away, right? Is red the one that takes?
I think red is what kind of like turns him not evil, but kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So red is the one. Okay.
Because I think is it black kryptonite that takes his powers away? I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, some Superman knowledgeable person will tell us exactly what they all do. Okay, cool. Great. All right. Well, my first one is going to be another DC book, Batman 159, which is part 2 of what they're calling Hush 2, which is the sequel to the original Hush miniseries, probably one of the most popular Batman stories ever. I mean, it's definitely in the top 5. You got... you got Dark Knight Returns, you've got Year One, Hush, what's another one? Lonely Day of Dying, which factors into this issue quite a bit. So we're on part 2. basically at the end of part 1, Hush is back and he's basically taking his revenge on Batman, but not not in a straightforward "I'm going to fight you" way. Just like in the beginning, or the original Hush story, he's doing it with surrogates, either hiring villains to harass Batman or doing stuff on the sly. And so the big meat of this story is the fact that he left Joker, Hush did, at the end of last issue, just totally beaten down, like to a pulp, like almost like what Joker did to Jason Todd. In Lonely Day of Dying, or so basically the story is about Batman trying to save Joker's life, and as you can sense that the main antagonist is actually Jason Todd. So we get to see Red Hood v Batman, one of the many fights that they've had, but this one gets especially brutal. I will say that if you've ever wondered if Batman can shoot a gun, you're gonna find out in this issue. So it's interesting in a few reasons, but yeah, it sets up a very big dynamic because some of the other people in Batman's family sphere, there's gonna be different aspects to what this is, and Batman is very much always singular focused on what he believes doing, and for some reason that I don't know, only he can understand, he wants the Joker to live, and so that causes very much conflict. So yeah, it's a good second issue if you just want to see a good throwdown between Batman and Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. You get that. The art by Jim Lee is great as always.
Yeah.
You can tell though that at this point in his career, at his age,
that's
that
what I was wondering.
he doesn't quite have the dynamic. It's not quite as dynamic if you went back and just looked page for page on the original Hush versus this one. There's a dynamic motion to his panels that I don't think is quite there now. But I mean, it's AA minus is what we're talking about, right? So it's not, it's just you can just tell that maybe, the extra hour or two he may have put into a page, he's not able to do that now, either because of his schedule or whatever. So he just needs to get it done. So it's a little rougher than we're used to, but still it's still awesome. So yeah, good second issue. Can't wait for more. So
I was wondering about that, seeing how he is. I think he's in his 60s. So when they
gotta be,
yeah. So when they were talking about him coming back, I was like, oh man, is he gonna still be able to,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, there's a lot of artists that have been able to do it that late in life, and kudos for him.
Yeah,
but obviously he's got he's still as far as I know, he's not retired from being a businessman in the DC higher offices, so he's still got a real job. So
exactly.
So he's doing this. He used to be strapped to a desk doing this. 28 days out of every month, trying to meet a monthly deadline, and here he's doesn't probably have half that time, so
yeah. Now him and James Gunn are kind of like this now. So
are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been a lot of posts about because of the Superman movie and him coming in, and I think they have quite the friendship.
Okay, all right, so, I could see that. All right,
so
what's next?
Up for me next is Medieval Spawn #1.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I have not I've read. Have I read any Spawn? No, I don't think I have. I mean, I get Gunslinger, but that's not.
I guess that's not Spawn, right? Yeah. So I've read a little Spawn over the years.
Okay, yeah.
But I would say from just a visual, Medieval Spawn is one of my favorite looking characters.
Yes.
Like I love I love, there's a reason he was one of the more favorite toys when the toys started coming out, because he just looks so cool. But again, I don't know anything about it.
I know that's the same way I was when I saw the cover of it. I was like, ooh, that looks really cool. Let me go ahead and grab it, because I haven't read any of the normal. I think in the main series are up to like 300 something.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, there was a previous Medieval Spawn long time ago. I don't.
Oh yeah. No, one of the he had a 3-issue. He was introduced in the Spawn comic at some point. And then he got a 3-issue miniseries. And then I think he was in and out. There was a Spawn, I think it was called Cursed Spawn or something like that. It's possible he was in that. I don't know the whole history. He's popped in and out of the Spawn book over the years.
Okay.
I just assume, like the Gunslinger Spawn, he's a Spawn from that era. Because I assume that this is more of a. There's always been kind of like there's always been a Ghost Rider. There's always been a Spawn kind of thing. But I couldn't tell you for sure. Just he has popped in and out, but he was very early on, like probably. I think Spawn was created in 93. I think 95 or 96 is when his miniseries came out.
Okay, I thought I heard something about that.
So it's the first couple years. And then, like I said, he got more popular because of the toy, I think, than the comics.
I feel that. Yeah, the toys look amazing. Yeah, because this is actually set in England in 1443.
Okay.
But the cool thing about this is this issue is not really... It's not bogged down with, like... mythology or terms that you'd have to know, if you were reading the 300 some issues of the main series.
Sure.
But this, we open up with with Medieval Spawn with a group of his men / kind of like adopted knights. They definitely are not, they're definitely not on his level by any means necessary.
What, just the power or whatever?
Yeah, okay. They seem like just everyday Joe Schmoes, to be honest. Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
So, but yeah, they journey across this land, basically looking for this guy that stole like a magical artifact, essentially.
Okay.
And what's interesting is this whole time, this has been in this for Spawn, it's being narrated from a future version of Medieval Spawn.
Okay.
So that was kind of interesting, and I think it was the first page right off the bat. He's like, "Yeah, I really wish," because there's a kid in here that they basically kind of save. They find, and he's like barely alive, and he's like freezing, and so. But at the start, he's like, "Yeah, I really wish we wouldn't have saved this kid." So it turned out this kid was going to find some of his dad's sheep that escaped. So he finds them, comes back to the village, all only to find that the whole village, like 200 some people, have turned into these monsters, essentially. Okay. So so they pick this kid up, and then they go to the village to see what's going on, and they find out that the guy that stole this magical artifact is there, and they basically just take out the whole village.
Okay.
So, and the kid's there basically watching this entire time. He's
right.
like, holy crap, But he does come to the, realization that he's like, okay, well, it had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end, he was kind of like, I know I'm just... Because he's a young kid. He's probably like barely a teenager.
Okay.
And he's like, can I basically kind of join you guys,
Right.
So... Medieval Spawn was like, yeah, you've proven yourself, and he's like, I'll start training you. So that's where, and I'm sure, as the series goes on, we'll find out why, Medieval Spawn was like, yeah, really kind of wish I left that kid to die.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But yeah, no, it was a really cool issue. I don't know how long this is going to go for, but yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Cool. All right. So my next one, we're going to go to Marvel, and I am reading the new incarnation of Amazing Spider-Man. It relaunched last month. I was actually going to talk about number 1, but we couldn't film, during the time when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's number 2. So we're going to talk about it now. So first off, they're starting. I guess the concept of hit the ground running would be applying to this book, because 1 and 2 are just moving.
Yeah.
Like, stuff is happening all over the place. Yes, you have to pay attention, and it's really there. Who's the guy that's I should take notes like James does, but the writer's the Deadpool writer, Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly. Okay, so yeah, known for like, he made his bones on writing that initial Deadpool run from the late '90s and stuff, and then. He also wrote Spider-Man Deadpool, the team-up book that went for like 50 issues. And that's kind of important by the time we get to the end, as we find out who one of the main villains is. Because there's obviously some villains in the background of 1 and 2 that we find out that Spider-Man's been drugged.
Yeah.
So somebody is taking an active thing to, well, they must know who Peter Parker is, and they've basically drugged him. So he's constantly having hallucinations. So the book is just a kaleidoscope of reality, and then he'll start dreaming of all these villains attacking him. So, it's like Hobgoblin here, and well, Rhino was real actually, but Green Goblin there, and everything like that. And so he'll pop in and out of conversations where he'll have a hallucination or a nightmare or stuff like that. So it's really causing problems for him because, again, as we get into his new status quo, he's trying to get a new job with a new biotech company. He left the Osborn company. Norman is trying to rehabilitate that company and himself. He's free of the goblin thing. They got split apart or whatever, got purged out of him. So you've got all that going on. He's still doing freelance for J. Jonah Jameson. So some things are still kind of similar in his life, but like I said, it's that kind of unnerving pace that the story is moving at that gets you all weirded out, especially when he jumps between nightmare and reality and stuff like that. So
especially at the beginning where he's at Rhino's apartment, I think it is, and all of a sudden, like, all the Spider-Man villains are right there, and he's like fighting all of them at one time. Right. He's on the street. He's doing a bunch of stuff. That was interesting because that got you going, right off the bat.
And what is it? I'm probably mispronouncing Pepe Larraz is how am I going to say his name, the artist. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic artist. He reminds me of, I was trying to figure out like what his art kind of reminded me of. And it's, I feel like he reminds me of early Dale Keown, who, I don't know if you know him from the Pit, that character, that Image character, but he was the one, he started on Incredible Hulk back in the day. I don't know, you may not recognize him, but he was a big artist kind of in the mid 90s. And he jumped to Image. He was one of those he was like the second wave of hot artists that jumped to Image. He wasn't part of the first 7. He was part of like the next group of people that were like, okay, these guys did it. I'm going to take advantage of my fame and I'm going to jump in. So he created the character called the Pit, which is basically a Hulk ripoff, as most of the Image guys did. They just ripped off the stuff they were working on with Marvel, renamed it, and it's like, creator owned. Okay. Anyway, but kind of like that. But he's got this interesting elongated face kind of thing he goes with, like everyone's face seems a little bit elongated. I don't know, that's how I know it's him, because it's very distinctive. But really good art. Again, very very frenetic, very energetic art. So a good start to this book, I think. There is a mystery as to who the villains are. You find out at least one of them by the end of the issue. And again, Joe Kelly's run, I won't say who it is, but Joe Kelly's run on Spider-Man Deadpool is very important to that. So if you did read that, you'll recognize who it is. I did not. I read some of it, not all of it. So I kind of remembered the character, but not really. So he's obviously bringing back some of the stuff he may have done with Spider-Man stuff in the past. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah,
it was kind of funny towards the end where, Spider-Man's going to Ravencroft and he's like, out of all places, why does it have to be Ravencroft?
Sure. Yeah. Well, no, because that's where bad things happen.
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah, exactly. All right. Yep. Cool. All right. And so we're onward to the last one we both read, and we are on number 3 of One World Under Doom. So we've been over the first 2. Number 3, and what's the setup at the beginning? When we last left, at the end of number 2, some villains showed up.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So what's the setup for number 3 here?
So we have, just to reiterate, we have a team villains: MODOK, Doc Ock, Madeline Pryor, Arcade, Mysterio, and Baron Mordo. So basically, this whole issue is essentially them getting together to, go and fight Doom again, and they're like, the Avengers are basically saying, or Kara Danvers is basically saying, do a whole frontal attack, and they're like, you guys have tried that a couple times already, and he's humiliated you at every single turn, and they're like, no, that's just a distraction.
Right. Yeah. So there's a little bit of consternation on, hey, if we're siding with villains, like what's going on here?
Yeah.
Are we on the right side of this? But basically, yeah, they are. They tell him straight up, we're going to have you, attack Doom and try to distract him, but then the real plot is going to be behind the scenes. So some interesting things about villains that I guess the one that we agreed we didn't know was Arcade, who basically creates murder worlds. Like his whole thing is he's really good with robotics. He's like a Disney Imagineer, but with like murder. So he creates elaborate, I don't know, Saw-like, I guess, death traps and stuff like that. So, but I guess what we didn't know, and maybe if we read his wiki, we'd know this, but he's absolutely, an expert sniper.
Yeah,
I guess
so. Yeah.
So yeah, a pretty cool fight. They do get the licks in on Doom.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So
it's funny because the Arcade says something. He's like, "All right, Doom, seeing how you didn't, come to my murder worlds, I'm, coming to yours." And that's when you kind of see the bullet like penetrate, whatever force field, and they get a couple hits on him finally.
Yeah, but obviously that was just the frontal assault. So behind the scenes, though, the real plot is the Avengers are going to try once and for all to figure out why all the world leaders are in on this whole Doom taking over the planet thing, right? So they assume it's some sort of coercion, either mental, magical. They've been replaced by Doom bots. They've been cloned. Blah blah blah. They're Skrulls, whatever.
And that's what you would think.
And that's what you would think. But obviously, not to spoil the rest of the issue, that's not it at all. We'll let you read the issue to find out. I thought this was a really good fight issue. Obviously, definitely. If you just want action. Also, I think it furthers the plot of what Doom is doing, and maybe puts a real stamp on humanity, for good or ill, on what our I don't know what I don't know how to put it. I guess I guess you have to read it. So, but yeah, it leaves you asking some questions and stuff, and then it sets up a huge thing at the end. So it seems like it's going to take a complete left turn now and go a whole different way. So
because the character that we see at the end basically is like, I don't think Doom actually knows what kind of power he possesses.
Right.
And he basically is like, I do. So he's like, I'm going to kind of like step in. So it's a pretty big revelation at the end there.
So the roller coaster continues. So we're taking a hard left after the end of this issue into something else completely, and we'll see where it goes. I honestly don't know where this is going exactly. So
how many issues?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I'm assuming that they are doing this. This theme is running through the summer, so I would bet that it's at least going to 5 or 6, which puts it, right into the July, August area of the Fantastic Four movie. So, but I honestly don't know. It's got to have an ending, or I guess it could be. Well, I mean, it could be as simple as how long did, we had. At the end of Civil War, we had Avengers: The Initiative. That whole theme of that lasted a couple of years, and then we had the whole Dark Avengers kind of initiative, which lasted a year or so. So there's been times when Marvel's kind of changed the status quo in the universe as a whole. And it stayed around even if there was not necessarily a book that was, so who knows? Doom could be riding with this for a year or something, So don't know yet.
Yeah, it's always cool to see his Doom Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't know. I guess that must be a fan favorite. Like I said, that was an early, Ryan North is the one writing this, and he's writing the current FF book. And in like the third or fourth or fifth issue of the latest run of FF, they just go to a parallel dimension where they're all dinosaurs.
Okay.
And so, like, in that world, and they're intelligent dinosaurs, in that world, there's a Doom dinosaur. So it seems like he brought him to this world, but he's under threat. Like, I don't think he's a robot. I think he's a dinosaur.
Mhm.
So he's like Doom, but somehow our Doom is controlling him. I
Yeah.
think, if I'm reading it right. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I guess I'd have to go back and reread the original arc where the dinosaurs showed up. But yeah, it seems like that must be a fan favorite.
Yeah,
or
I think
something,
so
like-
because I think it's been in the first.
Oh yeah,
all three
he's
issues.
always he's
Yeah.
always hanging around.
So, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Pretty much his pet now at
Yeah.
this point.
okay.
So,
All right. So yeah, another
yeah.
great issue.
Mhm.
I'm enjoying the heck
Yeah.
out of it. So all right. Well, I think that's it for this
That it
week.
is.
So let's see. Next week, yeah, I think we're gonna be right before Free Comic Book Day.
Mhm.
So we'll see. We'll see what's going on then. All right.
Yeah.
So all right. Thanks for watching, James. Thank you for
Yeah,
being here
thanks,
as
Mike.
always, and you guys, thank you again, and happy reading. And we'll see you at the stores. Bye.